and I'm going to share the screen. And here are the instructions for the annotated bibliography. Before I get started, did either of you have questions that you want me to address from the start?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, I already turned mine in and I don't know if I did it correctly, but I feel like I did because I just had English Comp 1 and we just did this. So.
Oh, you did it in English Comp 1?
Yeah.
Who was your teacher?
Oh, you asked me too quick. It was online too.
Okay.
I had that and Writing Studio at the same time. It was really weird.
That's totally fine. And so if you don't remember, it's okay.
I don't remember.
And not a lot of Comp 1's teachers teach this. So I'm sort of surprised, and that's why I was curious. Was it Debbie Unsold?
No, it was a woman that lived in California.
Oh, okay. So it was an adjunct.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody I don't really know. Well, that's fair. That's fair. I usually keep this assignment over for Comp 2, although I have known some of the, at least one CCP teacher, dual enrollment, who teaches this class at a high school, was teaching the annotated bibliography, and I was kind of impressed that he was doing that, because it's for Comp 1, because it's a little bit more higher level thinking, I think. So basically the idea is with the annotated bibliography, hello. Hey, Jamie. I'm just writing your name down. With the annotated bibliography, you're basically taking the sources that you have so far, and hopefully you have at least 10, and you're going to provide a full citation for each source. And under each citation, you're going to have a little summary of the source. So if you're using if your topic is MLA, like in the arts and sciences, you would use MLA. And then you'd format all of your full citations the same way as you would for the works cited page, except you will also have a summary underneath that citation. So your reader understands what that particular source is about. And maybe even how you would use it. Is somebody asking a question? Okay. So, and then what you're going to do is you're going to list all of those sources alphabetically according to what comes first in the citation, and then have some information underneath it. So you're going to be needing, you know, a pretty good understanding of each of your sources. Now, when I say that, I understand that some of you will have whole books that you may be looking at. Maybe you found a book in the library that has to do with your source, with your topic, and you want to use that as a source for this essay. Great, but you don't have to read every word of that book in order to summarize it. You can take a look at the table of contents. You can read sort of the introduction or the preface, which might give you a breakdown of what each chapter is about. You can read the conclusion and see what the ultimate argument is that the writer's trying to make. The idea is to give, you know, the reader, in this case, me really, an idea of what the source is about and what the source's position is, like the author of the source, what is their position on your topic. And you'll be able to explain that in just a few sentences, really 4 to 8 sentences. I know that some of the examples I had you look at had much longer summaries there. I don't expect super long summaries. 4 to 8 sentences is fine for me. So keep in mind, you may also find some articles, especially scholarly articles, that are very long. They may be 30 pages, 40 pages long. Again, you don't need to read every word of that for the sake of this assignment. for this assignment, as long as you read the introduction and the conclusion and you get an idea of where the author stands on your issue and what they're trying to say in their essay, then that's really what you need to focus on. Obviously, if you have a really short chapter in a book or a really short article, you should be able to read the whole thing and summarize it based on that. But this is a more time-consuming task, and I know that. So, you know, it's just, you just have to, you know, try to carve out a little time to really focus on looking at your sources and writing these summaries. Basically, so you're going to have 10 sources. Should be a mix of print, internet sources, which really should be, you should avoid .com sources unless the source is like a reputable newspaper or other news source. And you don't want to number your list. Sometimes people give me numbered bibliographies, and you shouldn't do that. And you should never number your sources on the actual essay either. You're going to want to double space throughout the assignment. You're not going to add extra spaces between the entries, between the summaries. You want to use correct citations, either APA or MLA, depending on your topic, 4 to 8 sentences. And again, make sure your list is alphabetized according to what comes first in the citation. Okay, so I'm going to show you, first of all, are there any questions based on this?
So I did them alphabetically, like in alphabetical order, and I did the citation and then the summary and then the second citation and then the summary. Is that what you wanted? Because I asked that question and I thought you understood what I meant, but.
So you start with the citation and then give the summary?
Mhm.
Yes, that's correct. And I'm going to show you an
Okay.
example. I'm going to show you an example right now. Okay.
So have you looked at any of them yet?
No, I haven't
Okay.
looked at them for this class because I noticed that approximately half of you hadn't submitted one yet. So I thought it would be better to have a conversation about it. And if people wanted to resubmit, or
Okay.
if people hadn't submitted one yet at all, it would be a chance for people to, you know, do it right, you know. So, so no, I haven't looked at yours or anyone else's just yet. But I do want you to look at this sample student annotated bibliography. Now, this person was in my class a few semesters ago, and actually, I think right before COVID. And this one is done correctly. So you'll see the person has used, can you tell me what kind of indents these are? I've talked about them a little bit.
Hanging indent.
These are hanging indents. That's right. So the first line, as you can see, goes flush to the margin, and it starts with the first author's last name. And then we have this full citation here done correctly, and then a brief summary. In this article, there's a clear purpose behind the author's writing, and this is to examine the academic boundaries dividing different races of students. These boundaries are fueled by standardized testing. The two authors are passionate about this issue and wrote this in hopes of getting rid of the boundaries by spreading awareness. This article is trustworthy and informative in regards to the elimination of standardized testing. So this student is writing about the problems associated with standardized testing and why we should stop this practice, right? And so you can see that by reading this particular summary, right? It's a short summary, only a few sentences in length, but it gives the reader an idea of what the source is about and how it's going to help the writer write this essay, right? So it's very concise, very clear. Now you can see there's no space after that summary. And then, so there's not an extra space between entries here, right? We move on to the next one. And the reason that we're able to do that is because we're using the hanging indents. So we don't need extra spaces after the summary and before the next citation because we're using those hanging indents. And that will be true when you're not including the summary and you're just creating a works cited page or a reference list. That way, you know, there's no need to number it or anything like that. The hanging indents do the job. So as you can see, this person has alphabetized them. I'm going to go real slowly. Now, first one started with a B, then C, then I, L, M N P R.
You don't want like an indent on the summary itself, like how you indent the beginning of a paragraph.
It shouldn't, no, you don't need that. You don't need that for this. It should just be indented. It should be aligned to the hanging indent from the citation, okay? And there are plenty of sources here. There are 10 sources. You know, if you go back through and count them, you'll see that there are 10. So this student, this is a really good example because this is a very strong annotated bibliography. And I'll make sure that I send you, put a link to this particular sample so that you can look at it yourself at some point. So you can look at it on your own and use it as a model. What questions are coming up for you as you're seeing this?
Do you want it to be labeled annotated bibliography at the top?
Yeah, that's
Because I put mine like right aligned with my name and the class and all that.
Well, no. See where I have the words annotated bibliography? That's where that should go.
Okay.
Okay. And so you'll center that at the top of the page. And then, I mean, I eliminated the person's information because, you know, for privacy reasons, but you would put your name and all of that information up here in the upper left corner of the first page, but no other page. That shouldn't show up on any other page, just the first page. If you're using APA as opposed to MLA, this one is an MLA, but if you're using APA, you have the option of including a cover page where you would have all the information about your name and all that, and the date in this class and everything. But I'm not real stickler about that for this particular assignment. When it comes to writing the actual rough draft, part of formatting according to APA is having that cover page. So you should plan on that if you're using APA. Okay, other questions? Kenzie, do you have questions?
No.
You sure? All this makes sense?
Yeah, I suck at summarizing things, so I basically typed out like what the entire article said. That's my only problem with mine.
So yours might be too long, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like the summaries are just too much. That's about it though.
Okay, okay. Jamie, what about you? What questions are coming up for you?
Not so much questions, I guess. The only thing I see so far that I haven't done correctly, did not do any of the hanging indents. That's my only issue. I had to like watch like 6 different YouTube videos on how to properly cite and even like start this out. So, but none of them told me to hang indents. So that's the only thing I should probably fix.
Okay, I can quickly show you as well. Hold on. Let me open a Word document.
I had a really hard time trying to figure out the the headers, like where we put the numbers. Like I would put the number, but it would never show up. Like I would put like start with 1, and I looked that up on how to do it too, but it didn't like exactly tell me. I think after I like saved everything and did it, I think it worked out, but as I was writing it, it would not show up at all. So I don't know if that was right on mine or not.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and show you, first of all, how to put in your page numbers. That's a great question, because I don't think everyone does understand how to, hold on one second.
When I started school, they were like, use like the Word document or Microsoft Word. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to use that.
Oh, okay, well, that's pretty much all I use, but the idea would be pretty similar, I think, for anything that you use. Okay, so
Okay.
as you can see here, always Times New Roman 12 font. So even if you're using a Google Doc, there should be a box that shows you what the fonts are and gives you an opportunity to switch them, right?
Yeah.
So for this one, there's our header. So basically, I'm gonna click off of this. Hold on. Will it let me?
Did we need headers for this assignment?
No, you don't necessarily need headers for this assignment, but
Okay.
if you want to automatically paginate, this is what you do. Okay, so you go into page number and you're going to format your page number and hold on. And then you're going to say, okay. And hold on. Why is that not working? Hold on. Okay. Okay, so you're going to insert pages. Okay, this is not helping me. So header and footer, there's a little thing here, but you can also just click on the top. And then I usually go tab over and then I say page number and then I just click on page number and then right, so it'll be on the top right corner. You can kind of see it there. So you say, okay, and then there's one, okay? And you
Okay.
can also add your last name if you wanted instead. Like I could put, well, first of all, I'm gonna undo typing, undo page number, and I can put Validata, and then page number, okay. Whoa, that did not work out. Like I was thinking it would. Sorry about that. I thought that would work out better than it did. At least you can do, it's not working on my word right now, but if you do that, it's gonna be fine when you move on to the next page. Okay. I'm gonna show you really fast too. If you do a page break and it moved on to the next page, you can see the 2 is there.
Okay.
So it automatically gives you page numbers. Another thing that I'll show you is double spacing. Before you even get started working on your paper, I don't know what is going on with my cursor and everything right now. Okay, here we go.
There is an awesome video on YouTube for using Word, but I cannot remember what it is. But if you Google or go on YouTube and go in the search engine and do like using Word, simple ways to use Word or whatever,
Mhm.
it comes up, I think. But it was really great. Like I learned almost everything through it because
Oh,
I'm not
great.
tech savvy at all.
That's great to know. I'll look for it
Yeah.
because it might be a good one for me to include in this class and in my Comp 1 class. I do have a few things, especially in my Comp 1 class, because a lot of times students come into that class with really no understanding of how to format a paper at all. And so that would be really helpful. So if you have a link to that and you could send it to me, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll look for it myself because I'm sure I can find it on YouTube myself.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what it was called. I can't remember, but I had Googled it one time because it was in high school. We were learning to use Word, and I was like, I have no idea. I am not tech savvy at all. Like I'm lucky to get my laptop turned on.
Fair enough.
So-
Fair enough.
So
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay, so before you even get started typing, you're going to want to find a box that looks like this. That has the arrows going up and down, and you're going to click on that. And there, you're just going to click on 2, and that means double spaced. So now, no matter what you do, your paper's already double spaced. Okay, so I'll just be goofy here so you can see it. See, it's automatically double spaced, right? So that's really, really helpful. Now to do a hanging indent, let's pretend this is a nicely formatted citation that I have here. You're going to want to click on the return or enter key. My laptop has both enter and return on that key, but some people might have either or. You might have enter, you might have return, you might have both. You're going to hit that. And then you're going to click the tab key, which is usually on the left side of your thing. I don't know why it's doing that. Why is it doing that? This is so strange. I'm going to try this again. I am very sorry. My Word is acting up. Normally, you should be able to, gosh, my Word is being just stupid today. It should just go over five spaces. So the idea is to move over move this over at least 5 spaces.
I always just go up to the box and do it manually because I can't ever get that to work.
Go up to what box?
I think it might be in either design or layout. And then there's like a choice for indenting. Go over to layout. Maybe it's in layout. It's right there. You click in that box right there. This says spacing.
Oh, so you indent.
Yeah, it lets you do it like that. And that's how I always do it.
Okay, so then you go back down and fix it later to go back to the beginning?
Yeah, I just do it like I just type out the citation and then I go and click wherever I need it and then it adds it in there.
That's really smart.
YouTube.
So yeah, I just did that. I just added 5 and then it will, yeah, and then it goes back under here. So everything under that, that's great. That's a great way to do it. I'm not sure why my, normally you should be able to just hit tab, you know, do like a click return and hit tab and that'll give you the indentation if you needed to.
If mine's like already formatted, it won't do that. So that might be why yours isn't doing that because it's already formatted into double space.
Maybe.
Because then after I do it, after I do the indent, I have to go back up and hit double space again because it won't double space. It'll keep indenting.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. That's a well, but it's a good hack. I'm glad that you're here because I usually just hit the tab key. So it's great that you're that you have this way of handling it. So that's basically, you know, doing the hanging indent. That's basically how that's done, right? And then so you want to make sure that you just have it sort of even throughout, and you want it to be double spaced throughout, no extra spaces between anything, and have the, you know, and use those hanging indents. That's great, Larissa. What are some other questions that you have about this assignment? And if any of you have already submitted, Larissa, I know you mentioned that you had, and Kenzie, I got the impression that you may have already submitted it. And that's totally fine. But if you feel like you want to resubmit it, if there was anything that we've covered today that it makes you feel like, oh man, maybe I didn't do that right, maybe I should start over, and resubmit it, you can tell me that. You can send me an email and let me know that you want to resubmit. And this is true for anybody who might be watching this video later. I would definitely accept it via email if you feel like you've done something wrong and you want to resubmit it. Otherwise, if you haven't submitted it yet, I hope that this is helpful. And if it's not, send me an email and we can go over it. Is there anything else in this class that you guys would like to go over before we call it a day? Anything about this assignment or any other assignment or any other issue in the class that you'd like to discuss?
How many total sources does there have to be, like for the actual paper?
10.
That's just all?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the minimum. If you have a couple of extra, that's fine. You know, if you had 12 or 13, that would be fine. And sometimes doing the annotated bibliography helps you because, you know, I've had students before do the annotated bibliography and feel less sure about some of the sources after doing it, and then found 1 or 2 other sources that they liked better and they traded them out, you know, instead of adding them to and having 12 sources, they still wanted to only work with 10, but they found better sources, so they switched them out. And that's totally fine if you want to do something like that, because this isn't necessarily the end all be all list. Okay, I mean, it can be if these are the sources you found and that's what you want to work with, it can be, that's totally fine. But sometimes people have switched them out if they found stronger sources to use.
Yeah, that's fine, because when I did mine, I only had like 9 sources because, well, I didn't know we had to have 10 until I looked at the assignment, and then I was like, I didn't have enough time to research it all, but I found some more now. So I'll
Okay,
probably just redo the assignment, and the ones that I'm probably not going to, I'll just get rid of and put the new ones in.
that sounds great. And you can make those summaries shorter too. You can shorten the summaries that you have so that you know that you don't have to have, you know, super long summaries. And I think the concept of summary can be confusing. because, you know, summaries can be a couple pages long sometimes, or a summary can be a paragraph, or a summary could be like 2 sentences, you know, so it's there are varying lengths that are required of summaries. So if you're planning to resubmit that, that's totally fine. And so just email it to me, okay? Try to email it to me as a Word document or a PDF.
Will it let
Okay.
you do a second attempt on the assignment?
It shouldn't, no. And the reason that I do that is that in the past, there's been some confusion, because if I've, you know, if you submit something and you get like a B on it, I don't expect you to resubmit it. And sometimes
Right.
people thought that they were supposed to redo it and resubmit it for another grade. And that just gets confusing. Now, if you got like, you know, 10 points on something that was worth 50 points, obviously, or even like 20, 25 points on something worth 50, and you wanted to redo it, we could have that conversation, but I would have you email it to me, right? As opposed to resubmitting it to the assignment, because then it just gets, because, you know, then suddenly there's this new thing, and the students put in effort to do a new assignment when they didn't really need to. And, you know, so it's better to just leave it at that. And that if people need to resubmit, they can just email me.
So when do you need it in your email by?
I would like to see it no later than Sunday, but if you need more time, I'll understand, because you do have the outline due on Sunday as well. So if you need up to, let's say, July 7th. January would be a lot of time, wouldn't it? How about July 7th, which is a week from tomorrow?
Okay.
That way it gives you a little bit of flexibility in getting your outline completed, and also, you know, moving on to the next phase, which is starting to write the rough draft.
In my summary, I did like what the source was about or whatever, and then how relevant it was, and then how like I guess reliable, credible the source was, and then I talked about the author. Is that what you want in the summary?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, saying a little bit about the author is fine, especially if you feel like the author is particularly expert. How long would you say your summaries are?
Probably about 4 to 8. I tried to keep it short, but within paragraph
Sure.
form.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. I think that, yeah, that's a good way of going. That's a good way
I
of
think
going.
I just need to go back and add like where the annotated bibliography is centered, and then like delete maybe a couple spaces between them,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
So you just want to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's all I really need to do, because I've got the indents and I summarized it within 4 to 8 sentences. I think I've got it all, but that, like, this was pretty fresh for me because I just had English comp last semester. So I mean,
Sure. I get it.
luckily
Yeah.
that one was only like 4 sources though.
Well,
got lucky.
That's a good way to start, right? When you're in Comp 1, to just do like a handful of sources. So yeah, that makes some sense. But this has to be, unfortunately, the way the class is set up. Like you guys have to write these long papers, and you have to have a certain amount of sources, and it's like, it's a whole thing.
Now that I think about it, it might not have been English comp 1. It might have been psychology, general psych, that I did that in.
That makes some sense. Yeah. Especially if it was online with somebody who's in California. Because I usually.
Yeah, the lady had like 5 jobs, and she's like, I can't grade papers quickly. And she did not grade like any of my papers or anything until the end of the semester. And I was a hot mess waiting on my grades. I was freaking out.
I bet you were. I'm so sorry. That's not okay. I'm really sorry about that. I try to get back to, I try to get grades in as fast as I can. It's a little more flexible in the summertime, but it can be hard because they start to build up. And I'm teaching actually 2 sections of Comp 1 right now. So I have like double the amount of people as I have in this class. So it takes a long time in my Comp 1 to get through assignments because of that. So I try to get through everything, make sure people know where they stand in the class. So, all right, well, are there any other questions? Anything else I can help any of you with about anything? No?
Nope, I think everything was covered. I feel pretty better about this.
Okay, great. Do you plan to send me a new version? Or,
I'm gonna look at it and see what tweaks I can make. I know I can do a few things. But I did the summary and the citation part correctly, so I mean, I might go ahead and just resubmit it, get a couple extra points, for the little mess ups. So I probably will.
okay, that's perfect. That's great. Well, thank you guys for showing up and having this chat with me tonight. I'm glad that you were here. And always feel free to email me or send me a message if you have questions about anything, okay?
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good evening, you guys.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.